Hello, this is Pradeep from Sydney, welcoming you to the next episode of Emerging Technologies, a special interest group of global chapters and connections, a global engagement initiative for setting up a truly global, value creating IIT Delhi alumni community. We have a packed day today. We've got two very interesting presentations, one from Singapore and one from New Delhi. We have Mita from New Delhi talking about or presenting perspectives on HR, human resources, talent acquisition and management, and she's talking about what are the trends and what role does technology play in all of this. We also have Rajiv Madane from Singapore talking about the APIX platform, which was launched in November 2018 by PM Narendra Modi along with the Deputy Premier or Prime Minister of Singapore. And then we will also have some other agenda items. Let's kickstart. And I'm delighted to present to you Mita, 1977 graduate from IIT Delhi, a very accomplished professional. She is a strategic advisor with NIIT Group on HR, and she had a great career in terms of both banking and HR. She is also a PhD from MDI in Gurgaon, among other things. And of course, she is a fabulous painter. So please give a round of applause to Mita, and over to you, Mita.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you for those, huge words of, accomplished and so on. But yes, one has done many things in life. I have been a banker. My first position after leaving IIT was with State Bank of India. I have been head of HR at Nucleus Software, and I have done strategic HR consulting. And like Pradeep said, right now I do advisory, HR advisory services. I teach at a MBA institute, and of course, I also indulge in my passion for oil painting. These are the sort of three main personas. So happy to share with you today. I've put together a few slides on. Let me just share my screen first. Just give me a moment. Yes. Can you see my screen?
Yes, please, we can.
Okay. So, technology has been, absolutely accelerating. The changes have been accelerating. And along with that, there have been changes in the way business is done, in what we have at the workplace and the kind of workforce we want. And therefore, the ways of managing people who are the biggest asset in any business. The nature of work itself, a quick graph to show how things have been changing. There has been a huge shift from manual work. In this graph, they've, for example, added all the jobs which were routine in nature, whether manual or cognitive, but if they were routine in nature, and you can see that there has been a steep downfall in those, whereas jobs which require empathy, creativity, and collaboration, those are the ones in which numbers have gone up in the last 25, 30 years. So in the technology world, what has really been changing? What do we mean when we say digital workplace? What are the sort of technology trends? First, the beginning of the century, we started talking of this. This word was used a lot, SMAC, which sort of encompassed all these technologies, social and mobile and analytics and cloud. And now we've added cognitive computing and artificial intelligence. What it means is that at the workplace also similarly, people expect that kind of digitally being connected in terms of their work and in terms of their relationships. And for example, if you are accessing an HR application, you don't expect to access it only on your computer. You should be able to access it on your mobile or any other device. The idea is you should be able to have all facilities, anytime, anywhere. Um, Similarly, cloud, the very concept of pay as you use and having cloud services meant that a lot of HR applications sort of got democratized. If I see at the beginning of this century, it was only very large and complex organizations which would invest in HR information systems. But now you can have smaller companies, even which are 20 people, 50 people, because you're using cloud services and you're paying as you use. So all those usages have become possible from the employer point of view, and from the employee point of view, they expect these services to be there. So that is how the workplace has changed, and all organizations have to therefore know how to use them most efficiently as well as effectively. Are we using all the information really for a data-driven decision making, for example? And are we therefore taking the best decision, which is the best for our employees? A corporation has to be like a living organism. That is the other thing I've shared, that just as technology goes on changing, are people who are, because see, each of us are always interacting with technology apart from the workplace. We are interacting with the social media things, like whether it is a Google or a Facebook or an Instagram. We are used to a certain ease of access. We are used to certain standards for interfaces, and employees are now expecting this in all the applications in house also. So that is how the workplace has been changing. Now if we come to the three sort of main processes that the HR function looks after. It looks after talent acquisition, and then of course capability building or talent development, and managing what is called the employee life cycle, right from the time the person comes in and is there in your organization. um, Now for talent acquisition, if I see, for example, the way companies were typically looking out for talent. Earlier there were sort of job exchanges, and then there were some sites like Naukri, etc. However, now we have gone ahead to how do we source the right fit for my organization. Now what is the right fit for any given organization? You want uh, an individual who is competent, but also you want the person to be a right fit for the job which you have, and also you want the person to be the right fit for the organization. And now that's a complicated thing, because each organization has a certain way of doing things. It has a certain culture. It has a certain way in which people interact. And similarly, a job, with the same job title, can mean different things in different organizations. So how do you manage to get the right fit? And therefore there is a lot of intelligence now built in the tools which are doing this. um, on the organization side, they have a whole lot of data on how people talk, meet, process stuff. And similarly for the person, it is not just the knowledge and skills. For example, what do each of us know? Our educational qualifications are one sort of indicator, and there can be an assessment. HR typically takes some assessments to identify that. What are the skills? It is apparent in the kind of work experiences that I've had. And also again, HR can take either an assessment, and also it can take references to see what are the kinds of things that the person has been doing. But in terms of attitude, motivation, it gets very difficult to assess. And there are a whole lot of tools now, which is why I've mentioned, whether it is social media analytics, web scraping, and the use of big data, gamification. Because, for example, when a person is doing a psychometric assessment, um, we are relying on that person's self statements about himself or herself. The person chooses to uh, reveal some part of his or her identity. But each person, when they are taking an assessment, especially for a job, uh, they also have, you know, uh, we do tend to respond according to what we feel is the right response. Um, However, the way I behave on the social media, or the way I behave if when I'm taking part in a game, is more spontaneous, and there is a higher level of engagement of the person. So the kind of data revealed about the person, it therefore becomes more valuable. So these are some of the trends that we not only find out what is obvious in the data about a person by way of qualifications, experience, etc. We not only find out about the network the person has in terms of the LinkedIn profile, but we also do, what are the blogs you keep, or what is the kind of social media interaction you're doing. And we may, as by way of assessments, make you take part in an assessment which is, driven by gamification, to sort of know more about you. So those are the kind of things which are happening now in the digital world. Those are the kind of trends in the HR world. And I'm just sharing this survey that what's happening is, just like we talk about people, that different people are responding at different rates to the way technology is changing. We frequently hear this lament that technology is changing too fast. And so, for example, about human interaction, the nature of our communication, in some ways we are happy. Things like a WhatsApp means that we interact often. In some ways we are unhappy. We say that something like a WhatsApp has reduced the concentration levels and the amount that people are able to focus. And the nature of the short messaging kind of services has meant that people do not are often not able to write a longer piece, or are not able to comprehend in-depth articles. So similar thing is happening for organizations. Just like people are responding and getting used to some things in technology, see, so organizations also, some are sort of at a beginner level, some are at a, here these four levels are given. Some are using some amount of social media, and at the top you have the digerati, who are using social recruiting and branding techniques, um, the way I talked about that, which fits with the kind of organizational needs. So that's about, and I come to talent development. Now, here a lot of interesting things have happened. Firstly, jobs, a whole lot of new roles have come, and a whole lot of new jobs have disappeared. So you will have things like a user experience designer, or like a video blogger. These roles did not exist about 10, 15 years back. And similarly, some roles have disappeared. So what does this mean for the working person? We are at the same time working for much longer number of years. People enter their workforce in their 20s, and the fact that we are living longer mean that many of us will be doing some kind of productive work till in our 70s, which means about 50 years of active work, and which means being relevant to the workplace. So what this means is that you have to continuously invest in your own education to know what's happening in that particular industry, or if you change domains, what's happening there. So the world of continuous learning for working professionals has become as important, and the numbers have in fact become equal around the world to the number of students who are doing the usual. Till now we had the model that you go to school, you go to college, and you enter the workforce. So that period of formal learning, school and college, those numbers are now almost becoming similar to the numbers of corporate professional learners. At the same time, do we say corporate education is likely to replace higher education? No, there is a lot of debate about that, because most of the continuous skills or learning, it is that learning is focused on preparing you for a particular job, whereas the formal education focus remains on making an individual it focuses on the complete individual. However, now for HR, what does it mean? That you now hire not only for the skills that a person has, but what is the learnability. So this is one big thing, and the second big thing is that the non-tech employees need to have technology skills as well, because technology is now an enabler. So whether you are an HR professional or a finance professional or a sales or marketing professional, you just have to be a technology champion as well to be using those tools. There is a similar. I'll go faster on this one, but at the beginning you'll have somebody using just classroom tools, and then it moves to webinar, etc. kind of tools. And whereas at the Digirati, the top you have um, organizations which use social features and which use peer learning and collaborative learning platforms. So for example, I will pick on this language learning thing. If you can see on the screen,
Mita, we've lost you.
collaboration between peers and so on. So if you can use that for your learning and development, then that it will really drive learning. Now talent management, as I said, is these are the three main aspects of HR management: talent acquisition, development, and talent management refers to everything in the employee life cycle. And how has this been changing? um, Employees do not now want to be directed or managed, they want to be coached. And you hear terms of of being at your best or inspired to be great leaders. So individuals now want greater decision making power, and HR has to make sure that by both use of technology and designing processes, they empower that. So for example, I've given an example here for performance assessment. Many of us are used to the old established organizations often only would have one annual appraisal, and so you got an appraisal and feedback only on an annual basis. But today's youth want this on a continuous basis. And also, can we bring a crowdsourced element, as in, instead of looking at that data can we from one particular source, let's say finance or something, can we look at multiple sources? For example, how is that person perceived by his peers, how is that person perceived by customers, and so on? Can we continuously get so if we look at these multiple sources of data and we want to process it on a continuous basis, obviously this needs technology enablement. So that is where it is making performance assessment more effective. So to sum up, HR in the digital age has to be agile, and these two words, especially in the COVID times, we are hearing of agility. um, we need to be more global in outlook. And for example, diversity and inclusion are some terms now we are all familiar with. Innovative, of course, things are changing at a rapid space. Employee centric, it is the design thinking approach, that just like anything we do for the market, we say that we put the user at the center. Similarly, for all our HR processes, we put the employee at the center. And for of course productive, our decision making needs to be data driven. And if it is data driven, can we share that data, and can we have performance assessments also shared and transparent? I'll just take a pause here. I have one or two slides left. Does anybody want to ask anything at this stage, because I'm just speaking, or we can just finish?
Yes, let's go on for the time
Okay,
being.
I just have a couple of slides. I'll just read the headlines. That we know this, we are living in this world which technology is changing so rapidly. What are the challenges? Three main challenges. I'll just read the headlines. They speak for themselves. current HR IT systems do not support the latest digital technologies. A lot of big organizations especially face this because they may have invested in large systems like a SAP or something, and then it becomes difficult to change over. Whereas current systems, the new ones which are coming out, are very agile, very responsive and dynamic, and they are they put the user at the center. The second thing challenge is that senior management perception often curtails these digitization efforts, because HR is always seen as a cost center, so it's always how much budget to put for it. Whereas I do think that the pace of technology is so relentless. It is like a cost of doing business now, and therefore we have to actually provision for it. And the third, I'm just picking up the three top challenges. There are so many in all organizations. The third one is that the supervisors, the managers and leaders themselves are not used to using data for their informed decisions. I've seen very senior leaders also, in spite of all the data, you look at all the data, but then again you take your decision by gut feel or because of our own biases. We are all human, and everybody has impressions on who's performing well at an interview. For example, the research shows that though the interview is the most ubiquitous method of a final decision, uh, it's actually not a great predictor of performance. So we as leaders are ourselves not very used to taking data driven decisions. We still take them by our gut feel, and which is why we do not invest the right amount. So these are the challenges. And this is the last slide, that the solutions also will come from technology. And just sharing a very interesting exercise which Microsoft did now at the start of COVID. They said this is a wonderful opportunity to see that how our employees and managers are managing these new challenges. That is, how are they integrating or separating work from home? Because as you know, in a work from home, the work has invaded the home space. It is not just work from home as a matter of choice, but it is a compulsion. So how are employees managing it? How will they maintain their relationships and networks without the typical face-to-face connections? And how will they collaborate? And they found that the solutions also came from technology, as in managers increased their one-on-one connect with employees. Um, Managers were doing more of informal things like having a digital tea or dinner together, or watching a movie, etc., together. And they found that where managers were doing this more, the number of hours of work therefore reduced, whereas number of hours for other workers typically in COVID times had gone had increased by 3 or 4 hours per day. Then I've just given some examples of various, I mean, these are all, they've been pioneers. They're just examples. There have been many organizations who've been doing really different things. So for example, Pymetrics and NIIT, they use riddles and gamification for assessments. Eightfold.ai, they say that, we help you get rid of your biases which come in any interview technique. Because while there are digital techniques and using AI also, even if I do voice profiling or I'm watching a video interview which has algorithms built in, the fact is many of these algorithms also have human bias. And now therefore it's a challenge to have an algorithm which is to have conclusions which are free of human biases. So that's what many of these firms are trying to do. And one very interesting example I've given is Wobot. We think that repetitive things are we know that the repetitive things are the first ones to be automated, and we think the creative parts of our work may be difficult to automate. But here's a mental health chatbot. You must all experience it. You'll find talking to it is as good as talking to a human counselor. So I'm just saying that many of the solutions are also coming from technology. So that's all. Which I'm because I've been talking. So any questions that you have?
Yes, Mita, first of all, very, very interesting session. There have been a few questions from the audience. And the
Yeah,
first
let me
question is from Kalpain.
go to the
And,
chat.
and the question is about our social media profiles. All of us are active, either very active or not so very active on various social media profiles. How important are our or how relevant are our social media profiles when it comes to employment? Is it a
Yeah.
showstopper? Or is it just something that people look at, or is it something that which is even looked at when it comes to talent acquisition?
So the truth is that in practice, for the mass hiring at a junior level, we may not look at it. But for middle and definitely for senior level hiring, yes, we look at it. There is a case, there is a HBR case. I am just writing the name. It's called We Googled You, and it is exactly about this. That a person has, been liked by the business leader and liked by the CEO, and the person then the in fact it's one of those things where the leadership meets a person and then they tell HR that why don't you have a look at it. So it's almost a done deal kind of thing. And at that time they find because this person they're looking at for a position in China, and this is in a company in the US, and when the person was in college had um, written something because of her political leanings. And then things have changed. But the thing is that if it is strong enough, do you want it dug out later, because each leader is a spokesperson of the organization as well. So yes, in that sense it matters.
Okay, this question was from Kalpain from Mumbai. Now
Yeah.
there's another question from Ankit. He
Yeah.
says, what is the role of HR in employee engagement in today's time?
Yeah. So in COVID times it's really sort of accelerated this thinking. um, Otherwise we were using, I mean, all the organizations I worked with or advised, we were using them for extending to um, you know different locations, because as organizations have grown large and as they are spread across countries, you have to use technology to be able to even talk to them at the same time, and also to make things interactive. If I was taking a workshop, for example, and I had to make things interactive, then uh, I use breakout rooms, I do something, but there were some limitations. Now I see post COVID, people have done all sorts of innovations. Um, just some things to share. One organization which had a treasure hunt. Um, each of the employees' families were involved, and they all had to do, and this hunt had to be within their houses, for example. So
Wow.
you can have a clue where you have to think of the answer may be something like a set of pliers or scissors or a pencil sharpener, and so first you have to work out the clue. So not only the employee, the whole family was listening in. They had to listen into the clue, and then they had to quickly get and show, put it up.
Fabulous.
So I
Fabulous.
mean that became hugely engaging, because so the design becomes very, very important. And I just want to say that for learning also, most of us would have experienced something like a Coursera course, vis-a-vis something where, let's say in COVID, the trainers were not prepared, and the same course which they were doing in an instructor-led capacity in the classroom, suppose they had to just deliver it, then it's not engaging. But what happens in a Coursera, the design gets worked out so that the presence of the faculty is not so much as a physical classroom thing, but in the design. You can make out that the flow of the course, when the question is coming, has all been done so as to enable learning to happen. So the design of the event becomes very, very important. So that's what I want to say, that you know you
I
can make
mean, the
it.
example that you gave was beautiful. I suppose a question which comes to my mind is when I look at countries like Australia, I'm seeing that the labor market is becoming very tactical in nature. It is that I have X amount of dollars and I have a requirement of skill Y, Z. If you have this and you can do this work in this budget, nice meeting you. And after that, bye bye. It doesn't matter whether you are in full time, part time, contractual, or whatever kind of a thing. Do you see that happening in India in the near future, or even maybe in 5 to 10 years' time?
So it's happening all over the world. I told you my first job was with State Bank of India. So State Bank of India typically looked at you that, from the probationary officer, you could have gone up straight to the chairman. It really did not have glass ceilings for women either. And people who got in similarly planned to be there for their lifetimes. I left due to other personal reasons, family reasons, but people were loyal. Now it has shifted both ways. It's always both ways. Organizations do not invest in you, in your learning, in your career path the same way, and nor can employees plan to be there. It's partly technology driven again, because if the nature of business changes, you can see that organizations also have a life cycle. They are born, they mature, and many of them plateau out, and they may go into decline. So this whole cycle has become faster. um, so I feel these relationships, yes, have changed, but you have to look at them differently. It's not something negative. You have to now look at it as a web of relationships. And I think that's what is happening, for example, with the LinkedIn, etc. There are now there are groups with special expertise, and you stay linked to each other because of that. So your learning communities or your working communities are because of shared area of interest. And organization A suits you at one time, organization B suits you at another time. It's perfectly okay. You were also the best fit for them at different times, and they were the best fit for you at different times.
Mhm.
So that's how I
Interesting.
would say it.
Interesting. The other question which comes to my mind is that it is, very good to say so from a large organization's perspective in terms of employee engagement and the kind of examples you gave. But what about HR in a small and medium enterprise? How does that pan out on average? Is it just a way of the owner playing it and using it for the same, or does HR even exist in small enterprises?
So I will say it's not owner or HR, but I'll say it's very personality driven. So that personality could be the HR person or the CEO or one of the leaders. By virtue of their size, yes, they do not have the usual resources, but it's very, very personality driven. So one example I want to share from a very small firm, which is a startup and which is having a tough time post COVID. But what this the CEO is doing, I think they're just 8-10 people, but the CEO is very fitness conscious, and he knows that in COVID times everybody's having a tough time. You can't get out of the house, etc. Every morning he leads an exercise round, 7 to 7:30. They can be in their night suits or whatever, but they go through this fitness round, and then they reassemble at 9:30, whatever. So it builds a huge bond. It's just like going for a walk together. You're not formally dressed. You do your exercises. Somebody one day joins late, etc. It's totally informal. So you're meeting each other like that. Now that was a very creative idea. It's not as if they engaged anybody else. I mean, there's no extra charge. So you just have to be creative. That's part of being small, and there are advantages. As a smaller organization, you are more agile. You do not have some of the baggages. The example I gave, that the large organization has a which has already invested in a SAP, finds it very difficult to get rid of that and shift to something. uh, I mean, they've put in just so much investment, so much time. So it's there are pros and cons.
Lovely. There are a
Mm.
lot more thoughts, but in the interest of time, thank you so much, Mita. It was a very, very interesting session. For your information, in the coming days and weeks, we will have a session on Coursera Global Skills Index. It's already in the works. What it does is it kind of they've got a study which they've conducted over 65 million users all over the world. They've looked at three groups of skills, which is in terms of business, technology, and data science. And then they've got different country comparisons and different industry. But it's a very, very interesting session. We have an alumni who is currently the head of Asia Pacific for Coursera, and she will be presenting over. In fact, I wanted that session to be in complement with when you were presenting, but it just the timing wasn't working out. But I must say I enjoyed it a lot, and I'm sure everybody else enjoyed it a lot.
Thank you.
Big round of applause for Mita, and feel free to reach out to Mita and to everybody else for any more queries.
Thank you. Thank you.
We now move on to the second item of the agenda, which is, well, it starts with Prime Minister Narendra Modi. So forget about the alumni. The alumni was just a poor guy standing over there in Singapore, and this thing. But let me not, um, you know, belittle the role of this alumni. I am delighted to present to you Rajiv Madane from Singapore. He is considered a kind of a banking guru. He also is a 1977, graduate from IIT Delhi, which makes it that Mita, Rajiv, and I are from same batch from IIT Delhi. Rajiv is a very well established fintech and a banking guru in Southeast Asia. He has been involved over his lifetime over a number of organizations in leadership positions. And one of his roles with Virtusa, he was involved in APIX Platform, which was launched by Narendra Modi and the Deputy Prime Minister of Singapore. Please give a round of applause to Rajiv. And we look forward to what is this APIX platform? What was Rajiv's role in this? And I'm also looking forward to a demo of this APIX platform. So, guys, over to Rajiv and Rajiv from Singapore. Rajiv, you are on mute.
Okay, thanks, Pradeep. Sorry, I was on mute. You guys can hear me clearly?
Yes, we can hear you loud and clear.
Okay, excellent. So yeah, this was in 2018. I was working for a company called Virtusa, which is a Boston headquartered system integrator. And we had won the contract from the Monetary Authority of Singapore, MAS, which is the equivalent of Reserve Bank of India, the central bank here in Singapore. And we were to launch this world's first collaboration platform between banks on one side and fintechs on the other side. Because the banks were looking for solutions to their fixing their problems, and the fintechs were looking for banks to sell their services and products. So it was thought by the MAS that if we could build a platform that could help them collaborate to create new solutions in the market, then that would be a great thing for the financial industry. And so MAS conceived of this plan, and Virtusa got the contract, and we and my team, I mean, we had almost 50 people on the team. We created this APIX platform, and at the Singapore Fintech Festival in 2018 November, because MAS, is one of the leading central banks in the world. Some of the guys in MAS managed to contact the Prime Minister's office and said it would be great if you can help launch this platform. And that's when Prime Minister Modi came down, and then the Singapore Deputy Prime Minister Tharman, both of them together launched APIX. So I have a short presentation with a small video, and then I'll show you how the platform works. It won't take much time. I will share my screen. Just give me a second. You guys can see my screen?
Yes, we can.
All right, great. So what I'm going to do is start with a small presentation. So this is the launch, which is this, by the way, this video is also on YouTube. So you can see this. Just let me know if you don't hear the sound.
Now, to launch APIX, can we now invite Prime Minister Modi and Deputy Prime Minister Tharman on my count of three, to place your hand on the APIX orb as a symbol of inclusion for all on planet Earth. Are we ready? On mic.
Sorry, I'm getting some noise in the background. I don't know.
Yeah.
Somebody's water, Pradeep. I stopped the video. Somebody's filling water. I don't know who.
Yeah, I could also hear that, and I was wondering, and I'm trying to see. Let me go and mute everybody, mute all. Yes. Yeah, I've muted all. Back to you, Rajiv. You will also have to unmute yourself, Rajiv. Rajiv, please unmute yourself now. Unmute yourself.
Okay, done. You can hear me now?
Yes, can hear you loud and clear.
Now, to launch APIX, can we now invite Prime Minister Modi and Deputy Prime Minister Tharman to, on my count of three, to place your hand on the APIX orb as a symbol of APIX's objectives to enhance financial innovation and inclusion for all on planet Earth. Are we ready? On my count, and 3, 2, 1.
Advances in technology are democratizing access to digitalization, accelerating collaboration, innovation, and social advancement. Financial institutions want to accelerate innovation to deliver better products to their customers. At the same time, fintech startups are looking to deliver their capabilities to more clients and in more markets. Introducing APIX, a platform that facilitates collaboration between financial institutions and fintechs to solve real-world challenges, accelerate growth, and deliver economic prosperity. The APIX platform delivers a digital infrastructure for financial industry participants to easily discover, freely design, and rapidly deploy innovative solutions together. The platform's growing marketplace enables financial institutions to find fintechs from around the world that best fit their needs. Fintechs take advantage of the APIX Sandbox to rapidly develop prototypes and bring to financial institutions. APIX aims to boost cross-border reach and collaboration for all financial industry participants. Here's how. Hyperverge, an India-based fintech startup, registered their OCR and image recognition API on the APIX marketplace. FE Credit, a Vietnamese financial institution looking to enable self-onboarding for their Snap Loan app, discovered Hyperverge on APIX. APIX is now enabling this collaboration. Active AI, a Singapore-based fintech startup, exposed Trinity, its natural language processing AI engine, on the APIX marketplace. One of India's leading private sector banks, Axis Bank, is now collaborating with Active AI to design a conversational interface to their UPI offering. The APIX platform is growing from strength to strength as its presence and adoption spreads across to more markets. The APIX marketplace enables fintechs to be discovered not only within their home countries, but also by financial institutions around the world. APIX delivers the technology infrastructure necessary to drive collaboration that leads to better economic growth and improved financial inclusion.
And congratulations on this momentous occasion as APIX is launched. Thank you very much, Prime Minister Modi. Thank you very much, Deputy Prime Minister Ms. Tharman, for launching the APIX platform, and all APIX representatives for joining us on this occasion. Ladies and gentlemen, one more round of applause, please, for the launch of APIX on this momentous occasion.
Okay, so I guess you guys have had a quick look at the APIX. Sorry. So yeah, any questions before I start?
So I suppose the first question which comes to my mind is that, like any other platform, the success of the platform depends on how many institutions or companies have come on board. So do you have any idea as to how many financial institutions all over the world would have, joined in the APIX platform?
Great question, Pradeep. I'm just going to show it to you in a few slides. Yeah.
Fabulous.
Okay. So let me proceed to the presentation. This APIX, as the name suggests, stands for API Exchange. API, to those in the software industry, is a very common term, application programming interface. So it's basically a small program that exposes your environment or your company or your work to the outside world. So that's what an API is, application programming interface. And the idea was to create APIX together for the banks and the fintechs. So as I said, 2018, I was with Vachusa, and that's when I did it. But now I have my own consultancy, which is Digical. And just a quick one. This is my company, Digical, which is responsible for creating digital banks, or what we call as digital bank or physical bank or digital bank, which is a combination of the existing banks and the digital banks. If you see the digital banks in the world, a lot of banks have sprung up and they are pure digital. They have no branches. Everything is done online. Account opening is done online, and that's what digital banks do. So I provide the consultancy for digital and physical banks. There's a QR code. If you guys want to connect, you can just scan it on your phone and you can connect with me on the QR code. All right, so APIX. So as I said, on one side is the financial institutions and the other side is the fintechs. So it has a marketplace, as you can see here in the middle. And marketplace is where you discover each other. So fintechs will discover the banks and the banks will discover the fintechs. And it has a sandbox to people not in the IT industry. A sandbox is an environment which is like a software development environment where you can create a new software just instantly, and I'll show you how it works. And people have created solutions, and then there is a community which kind of collaborates on this platform. So that's basically the elements of the world's first open innovation platform for financial industry. So you have a lot of fintechs on one side, who are looking for, say, anti-money laundering solutions or payment solutions, or they're looking for KYC and core banking. So these are the fintechs on one side, and on the other side you have the retail banks, commercial banks, insurance companies, capital markets players, central banks. They are the consumers of these solutions from the fintechs. Then this fintech, this whole APIX platform was launched by three founding members. As I said, MAS is the prime one, Monetary Authority of Singapore. International Financial Corporation, which is part of the World Bank Group, and ASEAN Bankers Association. The 10 countries of ASEAN, they all got together and decided to create the ASEAN Financial Innovation Network, and APIX is that platform. And of course, there are some corporate members like MasterCard and the consortium which won the contract is Virtusa, Deloitte, Percipient, and Fedor. And they have some advisors. So this basically is a very well-knit worldwide community of a lot of big players in the market. So now I'll just go to the demo, and you guys will get a feel of what all this is about. And then Pradeep, your questions will also be answered. So I will now go to the demo. So this is the landing page of the APIX platform, and essentially what basically APIX is doing is you, like it says, publish and promote your APIs to grow your business. So if you're a bank or a fintech, you can publish your APIs onto this platform. And if you see here, they have a marketplace where you discover each other. You have a sandbox where it's like a collaboration where you can create new solutions. It's a software environment. To collaborate, there is a community. So you have all the members can get together, send messages to each other and say, I'm stuck here, or I need help. Or, have you done this before? What do you think of this company? And then you have support, people who are managing this platform. There's some very interesting things that also APIX does is they run hackathons. So they ran hackathons for fintechs around the world, and they give out tons of prizes. So there's a whole bunch of hackathons being run recently. So now I'll just scroll down and show you. So there are some people who have posted some use cases. If you're looking for a lending engine or gamification, these are some use cases which people have pushed, which come out on the top page. These are the financial institutions which I'm a fintech registered on this, so. These are some banks who are registered who would be looking for my kind of solution. And there are some news items here. I won't get into that, but here's the answer to your question, Pradeep. Right now, there are 55 banks and financial institutions on APIX, and there are about 352 fintechs. Yeah, so good, healthy mix of fintechs and banks. So if we go to the marketplace now, you will see that there are many central banks, financial institutions, fintechs, and problem statements. So to start with, if I just click on the financial institutions, what happens is that the list of financial institutions catalog comes up. And those 55 institutions, like for example, DBS Bank is here, Philips Securities, Cantillon Bank, Prudential Insurance, Bank of Singapore, United Overseas Bank. Of course, India National Stock Exchange is also here, JP Morgan and so forth. So, you can go on all the 55, but I won't get into details. But essentially, each bank has a tile. And if you click on the bank tile, then it will tell you what this bank does, and what are its activities, which countries you operate in, and stuff like that. And then this bank, if they want to upload APIs, on the left side, you will see the organization. So if DBS wants to upload their ATM locator API, they'll just publish it here. So this is a typical way for banks to be on there. Now you also have the fintechs, and this is a fintech catalog, as there are 352 fintechs. So you will see all these fintechs, SME credit fintech, what they do, how many employees they have, stuff like that. All these are different people's offering different kind of solutions. So to give you an example, I'll just scroll down to one of them. So here's one. Intellect Design, I think, is an Indian company. They are spin-off of Polaris, which I guess most of us know. And I think Yogesh, you probably are invested in this. So I understand this is the Polaris product.
Yes, it is a products group.
Correct.
You're right, Rajiv.
So Intellect has put there, what is it? A global leader in financial services, contact number, legal, country of incorporation, Singapore. This probably is their Singapore division. And then they have some APIs that they have published. So this is like a marketplace where, like I said, the banks were there, like Citibank, UOB, DBS, and then you have the fintechs. So if I'm Citibank and I'm looking for a solution which is related to, their technology or their API, which is in the area of wealth management and goal simulation, then I would easily be able to find it. I don't have to do a lot of research because these are all curated fintechs. They have been vetted by Deloitte. And so it's easy for me to find solutions. If I'm a bank and I need to solve a problem in my bank, I can find the solutions here. Now, likewise, if I work for Intellect and I want to find a bank that is looking for, say, a wealth management solution or a payment solution, I can go and connect with them on this platform. So it's a great place to find each other and connect. Okay, so so there are many other features and all, but if I'm a bank and I really need to solve a problem, then what I will do is I will go to the problem statement. So you see here, browse problem statements. So if I go here, it will show me the list of problems which banks have posted. And so if I'm a fintech and I have a solution for that, I can just go and join them, So for example, there's somebody looking for a consumer credit card or somebody looking for cross-border payments. So, if I just look at this, click on this one. So this one has been posted by Citibank, a lady called Sandra Lamb, and they are looking for a payment gateway, for their cross-border payments. So, if you are a fintech and you are in this space, in a payment gateway space, you would immediately connect with Citibank or Sandra. I mean, just look at the amount of time that you would save. If you are a solution provider to financial industry, by the time you find the bank, by the time you find the uh, problem they're looking for, by the time you find the person in the bank you're looking, the right person in the bank, you can easily spend 6 months of marketing dollars and 100 trips to that bank. So this cuts down all that chase, and that's really the fun part of this platform is you get straight to the buyer. That's one of the key things that you have. And as a financial institution, you just publish your problem statement and 20 fintechs could apply to you, and then you can pick and choose the one you want. So it's a really good way to collaborate and find these people. So that's what the marketplace does. Before I move to the sandbox, any questions on the marketplace?
Rajiv, in this marketplace, how does this work? I mean, these APIs that we place there, this is more like an information that I have these APIs available and you can use them, or can the user pick up the API, integrate his own solution?
Great question. Just hold it for 5 minutes. I'll show you.
Okay. All right.
Okay. So let's go to the sandbox now. So I've found, let's say I'm a bank or I'm a fintech. We have found each other and now we want to collaborate, right? So how do we collaborate? So here we go to the sandbox, and here you will see there is an API catalog. See, you could be a company registered on APIX, but you may not have yet uploaded your APIs. So you could have just a presence on APIX, but not the APIs. So in the API catalog, there will be companies who have published their APIs, all right? And the other thing is, if I am like say a bank, I will publish my organization APIs and so forth. So if I go to API catalog, I just click on API catalog and you will see, there are 100 out of the 350 fintechs, 150 fintechs have published their APIs, all right? So MasterCard has, Intellect has, here's a company, and then there is Experian, which is we all know Experian is like a credit matching and a data provider of consumer credit reports. Card ups, card management, omni-channel banking. So there are tons and tons of fintechs, and you can just scroll down all of them and you'll see all these fintechs. Some of them have published their APIs, and some of them are in credit risk, some of them are in payments. So it's an amazing place to discover, and so one of the good things that APIX has done is, because you can't obviously search for all 352 categories, so they have created different categories of fintechs, like front office, middle office, back office, reporting. So let's say you're in the front office. What are the digital channel fintechs? Middle office, core banking, cards, document, and of course core banking, back office. And then in the middle of back office, you have document handling, treasury, and so forth. So there's a whole bunch of categories available, and you can search for any specific fintech, or you can see which ones were recently added or in an alphabetical order and so forth. So you can search. So since we are talking about Intellect and Yogesh is associated, I'll click on Intellect. And if I click on this, you will see that Intellect has this is the different technical information about their APIs, and down at the and if you see down at the all the details here, you can go to the APIs, and the minute I go to the Intellect APIs, it shows you the wealth plan success of what a simulation control is. You can ask for a cash flow account. You can ask for a goal amount. You can portfolio balances and stuff like that. So these are APIs that Intellect has published. And these are APIs like, these are the strings that you have to pass, and then you have these APIs. So if you want to use their API, you just give this data, and they will give you back a response. They'll give you back. So that's how the APIs work. And it's a very interesting thing here in the APIX is you can try out this API. So the minute you click here, it will show you there are 6 APIs posted by Intellect. And you can just click on this one and it will give you the details. These are all JSON format APIs. And you can check this out, all the different. So one was the portfolio balances. You want to get the yearly portfolio balances of your wealth plan. Just click on this and you will give your parameters, and it will give you back a response. So, a fantastic way to take these APIs and play around with it. Now, the beauty of the sandbox is that when you have these API catalogs, one of the things that you can do is you can take a wealth API from Intellect. You could take a document management API from this company. You could take, a card API from this company, and you can, what we call in the industry as, mash up these APIs, and you've got a wealth management with cards and a document management solution that you have created, and this is how APIX allows you to create a new solution with a combination of APIs. So I'm going to now show you how that is done. But does that make sense now so far as to what you have heard, or any questions? All right. Okay. So, sorry, Pradeep, you're on mute. Were you saying something?
I was saying, no, it makes a lot of sense, Rajiv. Now the demo is very good.
So the last part, and then I'll be done. So what happens is, if I want to use these APIs, I want to, let's say, try out these APIs, right? So there's a tryout. So what I have to do is I go to my subscribed APIs. So, these are, you have to subscribe to these APIs. So basically, there's no price, there's no cost. You just click on subscribe and you will get the subscription. So here are the API 4 I've subscribed, since my company DigiCal, I've subscribed to 4 APIs. I mean, just for trying them out. One is the Intellect, one is a sustainability from a company called Bamboo, which is into wealth management. Bamboo also has APIs in the library of different calculators. And then this one is like a smart bank account. This is like a demo account. Somebody created a smart bank database. And so they have 83 APIs. If you see here endpoints, there are 83 endpoints of the APIs. Bamboo has 72 APIs. Intellect has 6 APIs. So, you can play around with these APIs, and I'll show you how. I have some data already in this one, so I'll show you this Smart Bank. If I go to Smart Bank, and it'll show you, here is where you can subscribe or unsubscribe. And if I click on Go to API, this is where you can, get all the APIs. So, all the APIs will be loaded now. And it first of all shows you the documentation of this API. Then you have the tryout, the access, and so forth, So get all beneficiaries. And, there is like I said, there are 83 APIs. So you can get all of them over here. And we give some parameters and we can go ahead. So for example, there are some APIs, I'll show you one here. There is an account API. Yeah, here is the account API. So when I go to the account API, you can say get all accounts. These are our banking accounts, like savings account, current account, time deposits. So get all accounts or add a new account, or so you can try out these APIs, and this will be published by a bank. So if you want to get all accounts, you just say, I want, say, 10 accounts from page so and so, and then you'll get all the accounts listed. So this is how the account is, and then you add a new account. You have to give a lot of parameters. So you can play around with these APIs, while sitting in the comfort of your room, and test out these APIs. So amazing stuff here. So what I'll do is I'll now take you to the actual sandbox, and this is where I really play with the APIs. So in the sandbox, one of the things they have done is they have created an experimentation sandbox, which is called IDE, Independent Development Environment. So what is that? That is basically an independent development. This is my company's software development environment. I can create software here on the fly, right now in front of your eyes. So what I do is I create a place on the cloud. By the way, this is all running on AWS. So on AWS, what it does is, on the cloud, it creates a software space where I can test out these APIs. I haven't paid a single dollar, by the way. All throughout this process, I have found the bank, I have found the fintech, I have now created this software environment to develop my software. And now this is running, this I just created this today. So this software environment is running. And if I click on this software environment, it takes me to, this is my code. This is, don't be shocked by it. This is just a software, a shell program. And the way it works is, there is a, we all used to do software coding when we were in IIT. I don't know if you remember, many moons ago. So nowadays these are all standardized. The code is standardized. It's called Swagger. Swagger is the new format for APIs, and it comes with a shell. Like look at who's the username, who's the password. All this is built in. And when you want to test out any API, you see this part here: insert new API calls with your access token. Access token is nothing but a long password. So all I have to do is, this is my project, blank project. I just go to this button here on the left, APIX, and I say subscribed APIs. So when I click on subscribed APIs, it shows me, the earlier I showed you my subscribed APIs, 4 subscribed APIs. So it'll show me the 4 ones, the Bamboo APIs, the Intellect Goal Simulator, Smart Bank, and this. So if I click on Smart Bank, and it gives me different versions of their API. Let's say I go to version 4, and I say, okay, accounts. Remember we were talking about accounts. So get all the accounts. So all I have to do is just put my cursor here. Just remember this, I just bring it in and I put my cursor here. And I say, get all the accounts. Okay, now we're trying to get the account data from a core banking system. And just see the power of the system. I just have to click on this arrow here. And this highlighted part, 10 lines of software code is just inserted into my program. Okay. I don't have to do any programming. I don't have to do anything. The software program just takes that entire thing, loads it in, and puts it into my program. I just have to say, okay, I want, let's say, 5 accounts from the database on the 0th page. And then I go for this, say, where do I want to publish this? I want to show it on the screen here to you guys. So I just say, don't just go it into this thing, just hold on, I'll just go back. So the minute you write this code, it'll just show it to you on the screen, All right. And once you do this, what will happen is you just run this code. You go to run and debug. And what it does is it runs the code and shows you on the console how the code is running, and you'll be able to get all your accounts on the screen immediately. So what I'm trying to say, there are some, I'm doing this very fast, so there's some errors, but basically all I have done is just taken my my software code here just loaded my APIs and run my code. And if you can, if you have let's say other APIs. So let's say you want to load an Intellect goal simulator, get your portfolio balances. Just bring your cursor here and put in your, and then you have the Intellect code. Then you have your wealth code, you have your account codes, and you just run these programs and you are able to create a account with a wealth combination. So you can play around with any API on the APIX platform from any company, and you'll be able to create a solution. So yeah. So this is how APIX runs. You just go to your catalog and say that I want to upload, let's say, a MasterCard API or Experian API, create a payments, accounts, and wealth solution and run it. And all this is done in few minutes, and that's how the modern software is working nowadays. Gone are the days of 2 years of 20 people working on a project. all this is done in half an hour.
Fabulous.
So Pradeep, that's it from my side.
Fabulous, Rajiv. One of the first questions which comes to my mind is that, look, have there been similar such platforms set up since APIX came into being? And not necessarily in Asia, but maybe in Europe, USA, and other parts of the world?
Yeah. So there are similar platforms, but they are generic. So there are GitHub and all these other. There are people who are offering sandboxes, personal private sandboxes. There are companies who are offering sandboxes you can just drag and drop the APIs and create software. The APIX is only for banks and fintechs, and they have to be qualified. So it's like regulated by the central bank, by the Monetary Authority of Singapore, and put it all together. So
got it.
So that's how. So yeah, I mean,
Rajiv, where is the data set kept? Which data set do you get? When you picked up 5 accounts?
Okay, I'll show you. Just give me a second. Yeah? Let me just.
Or can you maintain your own data set there?
Yeah. You can have your own data set. You can have your own. See, your API basically is
only a code.
Is only a piece of code.
Only a piece of code.
Correct. But you, as a user of the platform, can also upload your own data set and give it an API. So the minute you give that API, it will go and access that database and give you the result.
Okay.
So, I mean, I just keyed in some, you saw that syntax error. So otherwise, we will get all the 5 accounts on the screen.
So second question which I had, Rajiv, was, do the institutions or the fintechs have to pay to get onto the platform?
So if you are a Singapore fintech, it's free. But if you are outside of Singapore, there is a cost, but it's like maybe about $99 a month. So yeah, $99.
Okay, got it.
Very small.
So we have another question from Kalpen from Mumbai. And he says, what would prevent APIX from becoming popular or becoming universally acceptable to a large segment of fintech companies?
It is. Today we have fintech companies. Let me show you the screen. Are you able to still see my screen?
Yep.
So I go to the marketplace and I go to fintechs. Okay. And you will see the catalog. The fintechs, you can see there are massive amounts of fintechs from different countries. You could have fintechs from US. There are some fintechs from Latin America. There are some fintechs from, of course, Asia, India. तो बहुत है, lots of fintechs from India. It's global now. There is no issue there at all. Yeah.
Great. Now, another question which was earlier raised by Somnath, and he was asking about that have you used or leveraged Hyperledger Fabric? Now, I don't even know what does Hyperledger Fabric mean, but I am
Blockchain.
You know, Pradeep, Sala, you were doing it. You're in IBM, right?
Man, you see, my job was more to build up the business.
Anyway, so yeah, so right now this is not on blockchain, but there are fintechs here. Out of the 352, there are lots of fintechs who have solutions on blockchain. So yeah, I mean, let's see if we can find anybody.
Thank you.
Fabulous. I mean, this has been some very, very interesting session.
Yeah, the Blocks is a blockchain fintech digital. It's a fintech which has fintech consultancy. This is anti-money laundering on blockchain. So there are lots of these companies who are on this, which are fintechs and using blockchain.
And the beauty of all this is that this is after Ramarao gave such a great presentation on blockchain. You know, he will kill me. For okay, guys, look, this was a fabulous session. Any last minute questions, burning questions, you feel free to reach out to Rajiv. His contact details are there, and when I publish this, and the slides will be shared. But the slide will be shared only to people who have attended the session. They are available to everybody, but on request. And of course, the recording is being shared with everybody.
You can just point your camera to my QR code here, and you'll get all my details.
Absolutely. So if that be the case, let's give a big round of applause to Rajiv. Wonderful sessions, and we have some more interesting sessions which are being planned ahead. So stay tuned, and let's go on to, we have already now well into 1 hour 22 minutes of a session today. So let's have a quick update from Dipinder and from Deepak on the value attributes, but maybe pick up for a more detailed session next time. So over to you, Dipinder.
Hello, sir. Hello, everyone.
He is one of the stars of the critical case study for everybody's benefit. Okay, so over to you, Dipinder.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, everyone. Great to hear you, Rajiv, sir, and Mita, ma'am. It was really interesting. So, quick update. This is the same slide that we saw earlier with some updates here. So, we were trying to talk to some of these potential partners to see if they would like to partner with us.
Yes.
And help us, move forward on these value attributes. So, some interesting things have come out. One thing which came out is Alma Shines is a company which apparently is already partnering with IITD Alumni Association. And I sort of discovered that there are actually two, alumni bodies or teams. One is run by the institute, which has a formal, association with Alma Connect. And on the remarks column here, you see the two websites. I, as an alum, had not realized that there are these two websites which are kind of different, really, and not necessarily fully connected. So, for example, Talent Connect, on both of these, if you go, one is called IITDalumni.com. The other one is alumni.iitd.ac.in. The second one here is maintained by the institute and therefore by Alma Connect. And the first one here is our alumni association thing, which is running on Alma Shines apparently. So, one of the questions here is on all of these value attributes, things are already happening, perhaps, right? All of these things are happening. And what we want to do is to take it to the next level. Let's say take the talent connect value add to the next level, and all of those other ones as well. Now, currently they are happening in these two different sort of ways, and we could start by discovering. Maybe we could have a chat with Alma Shines people, Pradeep sir or others in the association. I don't know whether you are connected with any one of them. I am not, so that could be a good place to start.
So you are absolutely right, Dipinder. What more to talk than silos within IITD and IITDAA? I also discovered this only recently because, remember the time when you got in the Alma Connect guy and we had a good session over there? Till that time, I was not even aware that there are two such kind of bodies. And then I realized that that's why we've got two different email IDs and I don't know what all is happening. But let me, Yogesh, you know Alma Shine?
Well, I know the one who came last time.
He is from Alma Connect.
Alma Connect. Well, he was connected to me by Dipinder himself, and I mentored him for a while before he went to IIM Ahmedabad.
Okay, so let's find out. Let's see, because I'll find out who's this Alma Shine and all that, and I'll get him along over here, and let's kind of initiate discussions, because that may be the one. If they're already working with the alumni association, then they may be the easiest one and the low-hanging fruit to that extent. But let's kind of, I'll take on that action item.
Got it. We also kind of had preliminary discussions with LinkedIn and Naukri. I was sort of hoping they'll jump on this prospect of collaborating and partnering with Alumni Association. But it looks like LinkedIn seemed less interested. Neither of them had a ready program. Oh yeah, alumni bodies, here is our offering. Here is how we partner. So we need to think about what could be the incentives or work with them to build this sort of a collaboration with one or more of them. So that there was some interesting other things that we found especially while talking to Alma Connect. So Deepak, if you could show that table. I was just thinking, how will we measure our success in terms of these value attributes? Like maybe the best alumni bodies in the world are having a lot of talent connect and a lot of business connect going through, and can there be some ways of connecting? So I found something. This is not exactly what this says is how many staff in the alumni body, whether it is alumni association or institute, the rightmost. So for example, for John Hopkins, this is just some universities in US, this may not be comprehensive globally, has one staff in the alumni body for every 1,200 alumni, right? And then you have MIT is number 2 in this list, and so on and so forth. Staff is, of course, a proxy for, you could also put it as a proxy for cost, right? You could have other resources, you can outsource it and stuff. So to enable more and more of these value attributes going, we'll need to sort of benchmark with what is the investment we need to put across those platforms. We heard actually in both the presentations today, Mita ma'am spoke about all the things that are happening to connect people within the organizations and on the recruitment side when she was talking. And Rajiv sir, of course, APIX is a platform to connect those who have the APIs and those who need them. So that's what we are trying to do in a way in those all those attributes, right? We are trying to connect people on different aspects, and that technology has a lot of role to play, and people also have a lot of role to play. So this is where we are. I have some more details.
Very interesting observation. When you look at John Hopkins and you look at the bottom of the table, which is Cornell. So you got 22 staff for 26,000 odd alumni in the case of John Hopkins, and you got 5 staff for 250,000. So very interesting kind of comparisons which are happening.
Yes, we should go into. I've not verified this, but it's an interesting thought that the more we invest, and also there are other thoughts on what the structures are. It seems that the best run alumni bodies are obviously closely synchronized with the institutes.
That I 100% agree, and that's what we've been trying to hammer right from the beginning, that both the institute and the alumni has to be aligned here. You can't be having two separate things floating around and kind of running in their own direction.
You see, Pradeep, there's a slight difference in the context here. In the American systems, the universities are very well connected to alumni because they are extremely dependent upon alumni endowments. So they do a very, very heavy alumni connect, reach out, outreach and things of that kind. Whereas in India, so far, institutes were completely dependent on the government or some research work. So they had little this thing for alumni, other than, IIT Delhi, early on, Professor Dogra and others, they created an alumni association for the sake of, bringing connectivity and staying connected. They were not asking alumni for endowments. So, and that is why IIT Delhi Alumni Association got formed 50 years ago. So there is this is a huge difference. It's now that Indian universities are waking up to create that alumni connect.
You see, but this also brings about another important aspect, that connectivity is important for the alumni, whereas endowment is what is important for the institute.
Right.
That is also getting into a fundamental kind of.
Now here is another factor here. In the Indian scenario, in the Western scenario, yes, alumni care a lot about university because they look for university standing, and they, if the university ranking goes up, even they feel more valued in the community that they are. You are from MIT or you are from Stanford. In Indian scenario,
yeah, I know.
it didn't matter. Every university was getting money from government.
Very true. Very true.
So neither the universities were interested, the institutions were interested, nor were alumni so deeply connected, except yes, they would have their own alumni groups and batches and bonding, like good old days, Allahabad University and Banaras University and the AMUs of the world, which had phenomenally, stellar alumni all across, be it administrative services, be it politics, so they would create connections. Otherwise, how many of you have heard of Gujarat University, or how many of you have heard of a university in Chandigarh or PEC of that kind, in that sense?
Very true. Very true. Very true.
Right. So this is changing now, and there's a lot of churning taking place in India. With this NEP 2020, it's going to be a completely new environment, a new paradigm.
But this is where I say that the opportunity is, because it's like there's nothing happening.
Pradeep?
Yes, Kalpan?
Can I make a small observation?
Please.
So, in fact, I also agree with you completely that there needs to be certain kind of alignment between the institute and the alumni association. As Yogesh mentioned, we have certain legacy that we are carrying forward, but not necessarily the legacy is the best. Under current environment and changing paradigms, I think we have to restructure it. That understanding has to be rebuilt maybe. And there has to be certain level of trust and faith and transparency in the interaction between the institute and the alumni association, by which we end up being complementary to each other and therefore provide strength to each other. I think alumni association needs to look at itself as an extended arm of the institute rather than a competing arm of the institute. So this is just a small submission from my limited observation of what I have seen. But I think there is a lot of work to be done, and I agree with Pradeep on that front.
There is another factor that we need to keep in mind in India is the political parties.
Yeah.
The political parties are playing a very deep game because they want to catch students young. So far, IITs were safe from this. Delhi universities and Allahabad universities were badly impacted. But now with IIT alumni becoming chief ministers, suddenly political ambitions of
Yes, yes.
also gone up.
Yogesh, actually, it is all the more reason that we try to take some corrective steps as early as we can. Otherwise, we will fall into the similar trap as maybe AMU or BHU, if I may quote a few universities. So I think we need to work in hurry probably.
Absolutely. I agree with you.
I 100% Kalpen. Very, very good comments. And
I want to add one more point. Like
yes,
Yogesh said that when the associations got started, 50 years back and all things were different. So I have seen that earlier people of these universities, I mean, whether it is Presidency College or let's say a school alumni, would meet more for, like a social occasion. But now with the networking opportunity, like I talked in my own thing about technology enabled networking and communications, people are communicating more with each other, they're talking more, and they are staying connected for professional opportunities as well. And that is, one sort of reason why the Alumni Association now has to be even stronger and, supporting this connectedness. And that connect with the institute also has to be there. It has to be seen as something you stay connected for learning opportunities, professional opportunities, give and take, everything. It's not just a social thing as it used to be.
very well said. Very well said. So back to you, Dipender. So you see, we have opened up a Pandora's box. So, but absolutely well said that, we also need to look at what is the value proposition for the other companies that we are wanting to partner with. What is it in for them? And yes, so important now, I suppose the key thing is, you see, organizations like LinkedIn, etc., they will behave like any other global organization. So therefore, in each of these companies, we'll have to find out who is the kind of most relevant stakeholder within that organization, and for him to be the champion within that organization for partnering with us. So couple of things it kind of throws up. One is coming back to the focus areas. We continue to expand. Now, what about companies like Naukri? What was, you said that even they didn't seem to be having a very, very interesting response.
No, so the person we spoke to, he did not have a ready, like he didn't jump on it and he said, here's how we can do it. And he sort of said, let me come back and let me discuss internally. So they're not sort of completely off the table. LinkedIn was less interested, but I think I should also say that these were a couple of people we spoke to, and this was their response. We should not yet conclude.
Yeah, we should not really look this as the organizational response per se. But what we are doing is we are socializing at the moment, and we are kind of testing the market, so as to say.
Correct. It is definitely not a very established practice of. This is something new for them. Otherwise, if it was something they were doing and looking at it as a useful thing, then they would have jumped on it. We need to do some discovery and modeling over here, perhaps. And on the previous discussion, that is, so Professor Naveen Garg, who is heading the alumni affairs, he's the Dean of Alumni Affairs at IIT Delhi. He's from computer science. I know him very well. He taught us when we were young and he was younger. So we can probably, at least start a discussion on how we can synergize. He's definitely a very nice person, and we can connect. I'm sure many of you are probably
sure. I mean, I remember
meeting. Good opportunity.
I remember meeting him in Sydney in the month of March when he came along with the IITD delegate. I mean, the director, and then Sankhi was the dean at that time. So there were a couple of deans. No. So let's. Why don't you have a chat with him? And
right. So I'll do that.
And maybe invite him to the session, next session, and see. because this is where we need to, because we need to open up the dialogues and we need to kind of get the discussion going. Absolutely, absolutely.
Sure. So fortunately, I know him very well.
So only one question, Dipender. He was not one of the 6 persons of the faculty who joined in critical.
No, no, he wasn't. But otherwise,
jokes
I mean, he
apart.
taught us.
Jokes apart.
Yes, he was not one of those. There were 5 faculty members, and he could have been the 6th, but he was not.
And if I remember, Naveen is also an IIT Delhi graduate, isn't it?
Yes, I think so.
Okay.
So yeah, these are some of the links. I'll share this presentation again. One of them is about the structures. You know, how different institutes and different alumni organizations globally. Somebody has just chronicled this, and we can look at different models, see where IIT Delhi is.
This is great stuff.
Right.
So the link is actually giving that what different alumni associations, what kind of structures they've been following, is it?
Yes, yes. So what kind of bylaws, what kind of structures, what has worked, what has not worked. And my assessment currently is IIT Delhi is in the upper percentiles, at least in India. I also learned, since Kalpin, you are also from IIM, that IIMs are doing a better job at, in general, than, let's say, IITs. And within IITs, I would say IIT Delhi seems to be doing well with the endowment fund and all the other initiatives. So we are in a better place right now. We should however get to the global best.
I agree with you, Deepinder, to the extent that it has huge potential, and that's why I'm very keen to take this forward. As Mita ma'am also said very rightly, Alumni Association now has diverse role to play. It is not necessarily only fundraising or not necessarily only networking, etc. If we really augment and broad base our approach, I think we can really do a fantastic service for the alumni and the institute both. And I have been running my IIM Ahmedabad Alumni Association for last 7-8 years, and I can assure you that you can be a great strength to the institute itself. So let's continue with this work.
Absolutely, and
please share your slides.
And you know, whenever I there are so many alumni involved into the GCC, and then so many have done, you know, MBAs, and wherever the people have been from IIMs, and they're very clear. They say that the IIM alumni associations are performing much better than what the IIT. So there is enough room at the moment. The bottom line is that the sky is open at the moment. So great. Yes,
thank you. That's it. I'll share the slides. No, I'm done, sir.
Okay, so then if you can just send the slide through, and I will share it with the everybody, along with Rajiv Madane's and with Mita's slides.
Right.
So that's it from my side, and I must say a very interesting, you know, emerging tech session. And I'm also, you know, finding that the emerging tech special interest group is taking a shape of its own now. I'm getting that feeling. Whereas GCC was much ahead, and emerging tech, while it was a special interest group, was a bit lagging behind. And there's some very more interesting stories in the pipeline. There's one of our alumni who worked on, you know, the equivalent of Aadhaar for all the inventory in the country. There is some great stuff which is in the pipeline. So stay tuned. Have a lovely morning, afternoon, evening, night. Enjoy your breakfast, lunch, dinner, tea, whatever it is in your part of the world. Bye for now, and let's catch up. And remember, next week at the GCC session, we will be presenting an IITD alumni who's been listed among the top 50 CEOs of Indian origin worldwide. We will also be presenting to you somebody on a new initiative which Mita, Yogesh, and I have been in discussions with one or two other alumni, which is on the issue of the new normal, innovation, and inclusion. So I will be presenting another IIT Delhi alumni who's been doing some great work in that particular direction at the GCC session. So lots more in the pipeline. Stay tuned. Bye for now.
Thank you, Mita, for a wonderful presentation, and Rajiv also. That was very enlightening. Both the presentations were very, very enlightening.
As well as
Thank
some
you.
of the very, very interesting points brought about by Dipinder, and very good inputs by Kalpen and everybody else. Take care. Bye for now.
Thank you. Thanks.